Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we'll be taking a quick look at the brand new Marvel Legends Avengers Black Knight figure from the Cull Obsidian Build-A-Figure wave. And this figure is probably the one that I was most excited about from this wave because it's always awesome to get classic Avengers characters, and this is a figure that Hasbro tried to do in the past and they didn't do a very good job at it. They based it on a look that not a lot of people were a fan of instead of doing like a classic version, so it's really cool to see them go back and fix some of the mistakes of the past. But let's jump right into it with the packaging. As usual, you're able to see the figure, the Build-A-Figure, his extra heads, the sword, all that cool stuff. You got the Avengers logo, you got like a cool Avengers background hidden behind him, and then on the side you get some nice looking Black Knight artwork that looks great as always. And then on the back you're able to see the rest of the figures in the wave. You get a shot of the figure itself, and then you get a shot of the Build-A-Figure. I got about half the pieces, so I'm almost there, and that's very exciting because the Build-A-Figure looks awesome. And that's it for the packaging. It's collector friendly, it's always cool from Hasbro, blah 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 blah. So let's get right into the figure. And here's Black Knight out of the packaging. And just so you guys know, I'm actually redoing my review here. I posted a review for him yesterday and there was something wrong with it, so I had to take it down, and now I'm refilming it. But the reason why I say that is because when I finished my first review, I actually glued the cape onto the figure. And I'll just have to say, once I did that, I enjoyed the figure a lot more. And it's not like I disliked it before, but you know, once I have the cape like stuck in place and it's not moving around, it just made the figure a lot more enjoyable to pose and play with, because then the cape's not falling off. Before, how it was, it just kind of sits there. There's a peg hole and everything, but it just falls right off. So that drives me crazy with Hasbro figures, so I glued it on and I'm very happy with it. But let's get into the articulation here. His head is on a ball joint, so it's able to move side to side. You could get him to look up to about there. You could get him to look down to about there. And then his ab crunch is kind of weird because it feels like it goes forward a lot, but then it pops back up right away. So I'm not really sure why it's doing that. But every now and then it seems like Hasbro figures will do that. My Shatterstar does the same thing. But it does go to right there and it'll stay, so it's not horrible, but I do wish that it would go all the way down because that'd be pretty cool. And then it goes back to about there, but then the cape is in the way. And then you have the waist swivel. You have ball jointed shoulders, so his arms can go all the way around. I'm always worried with the shoulders on this body because they're really tight because of this chainmail effect here, so you want to be very careful when you're moving the arm. I'd suggest moving it right at the ball joint. And when you do that, you're able to get his arm to go all the way up to the side like that. You don't want to just grab it from right here and move it because you might tear the peg. But his arm does come up to the side. Then you have the upper bicep swivel. You have double jointed elbows. You have a swivel at the wrist, a hinge at the wrist. And then for his legs, you're able to get them to go out to the side to about there. Can't quite do the splits. He could kick forward. And it's nice because the belt thing does float around and it doesn't get in the way. That's one thing I'm okay with it floating around, is the belt, especially if there's like a skirt tunic thing, because it doesn't get in the way of the legs. So his legs do go forward to about there. And let's see here. They don't go back too far. Only do about there. And then you have the upper thigh swivel, double jointed knees. You have a swivel at the boot. And then you have the awesome Hasbro ankles that rock side to side, go forward, and then come up. So obviously this body we've seen before, so you should be pretty familiar with the articulation. It's the same body as Hobgoblin, Green Goblin, and Dread Knight. And I think it was King Cobra, I think his name was, that also used the same body, so people should be pretty familiar with it. And one thing that makes this figure awesome is the fact that he comes with 3 different heads. And this is the first head. To me, it feels like it's inspired more by his modern look. And then you have this head that kind of feels like the more classic Black Knight. Especially, it really reminds me of the 90s, especially because of the facial expression. And then you have this helmeted, like, knight kind of look, and that reminds me of like the old Avengers comic books where Black Knight is a villain, but I'm not really sure if that's 100% what this is based on. It just kind of reminds me of that look. And then he comes with this ebony blade that looks really nice. It has a black blade and then the handle is gold. And this is really cool because I thought they would just give us like another one of the Baron Zemo swords, and they didn't. It's actually different, so that was very good to see. Dang, mine's all scratched up. That sucks. But yeah, they reused this for the Dread Knight figure, but I'm glad that they gave Black Knight a brand new sword. So that's very cool, because they probably could have got away with, you know, using the same one. That's something they would do, but they went the extra mile, gave us a brand new sword. And this sword is very nice. It does fit into the little sword holster that he has here. It is a little bendy, you know, kind of could warp a little bit, but you could also just put it back and you could straighten it out. So it's not too bad at all, but the blade is nice and it fits snug into his hand, especially this hand here, not so much this other weird trigger finger hand. But see, check that out. He holds it, doesn't fall out or anything. So it's very nice work with the blade there. And then of course you have the leg for Cull Obsidian. And like I keep saying, this figure looks nice. The sculpting work looks nice. So I look forward to building this guy. And now for some size comparisons, here he is really quick next to the Marvel Legends Blade figure from the Man-Thing Build-A-Figure wave and the Captain Britain from the Abomination Build-A-Figure wave. And it's really cool to have all these figures together because if I remember correctly, all three of these used to hang out together in that MI13 book from a couple years back. I've never read it, but I've heard a lot of good things, so I really should check it out. But it's cool to have all these guys to have them hang out together. And then here he is next to the Marvel Legends Toy Biz Baron Zemo and the Marvel Legends Radioactive Man, if you want to throw him into your Masters of Evil display. And then here's a look at him next to the Toy Biz Ant-Man and the Toy Biz Hawkeye. And then now here we have the Marvel Legends Wonder Man and the Marvel Legends Eric O'Grady Ant-Man. And now here we have Black Knight hanging out with the Comic-Con exclusive Dread Knight. And as you could see, they're pretty much the same figure except for the heads and the paint, obviously. But all the pieces are pretty much reused. The gloves are the same, the boots are the same, the little tunic thing is the same, and so is the cape. And I think this cape originally came from Valkyrie from the Fan Choice 2-pack, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't have one of those handy, but it does look super familiar. But yeah, the exact same figure. So if you have Dread Knight, you should know what to expect with Black Knight. As far as the sculpting and the painting on this figure, everything looks pretty good, especially for the chainmail effect here. Like I mentioned before, it's not new. We've seen it on a couple other figures, but it looks especially good on Black Knight. And it really makes me wish that we'd get a Captain America with the chainmail effect. You know, if they're willing to do it on this, I don't know why they won't do it on Captain America. Like a character that big and important should definitely get this kind of treatment. But yeah, everything looks good on Black Knight. I like the way the logo looks here in the center of his chest. It doesn't look like the paint is coming off. It doesn't look like there's parts that are lighter than the rest. It just looks nice, crisp, and clean. The only part where the paint on mine is ugly is right there. You could see the brown from the belt kind of leaking onto the little skirt thing. And yeah, other than that, it all looks really good. I do wish that there was some red lining on the boots here. I think that would be a little bit more accurate. But other than that, you know, there's no really big problems with the paint and the overall look of the figure. And the cape is a bluish color. It's not black, but that's okay. And the color of the figure itself, it's black, but it's not like super dark black, if that makes any sense. It kind of looks, it almost looks gray, but not really. It's definitely black, but it's just not like a dark, really deep black, you know, but it does look good. But yeah, the overall look of this figure is great. I think everything looks nice on it. Definitely captures the look of the character. And let's take a closer look at these head sculpts. Here's the first one that I'd say looks more modern. And it does look really nice. I like that you could see his eyes. His eyes actually have some nice paint work. And you could also see his eyebrow. You could kind of see it right there in the corner. That looks cool. And these ears are soft, so you don't have to worry about them breaking or anything. And yeah, look at that. That's dope. That looks really nice. And this head, like I mentioned, it really reminds me of his look in the 90s when he used to wear the cool bomber jacket that all the Marvel characters used to wear back in the day. And how cool would it be if we got a version of Black Knight like that? Having this head will make it easy to customize a version like that if you'd like, so that's very cool. And again, you could see the eyes and they look good, and then his facial expression kind of has like a grimace or like a, you know, like a ready for battle kind of facial expression, so that's pretty cool. Again, the eyes look nice. So yeah, very awesome looking head sculpt. Some of the paint's coming off on mine right there, but it's not a big deal. And then you have this guy that I know that this is not like what he always looks like as a villain, but it just reminds me of those old Avengers comic books. But I've definitely seen Black Knight with this helmet when he's not, you know, when he's not a villain, when he's still a hero. So it does look cool, and this thing is awesome. This bird is really soft up here, so you don't have to worry about that snapping or anything. Yeah, it looks kind of, I don't want to say spooky, but it looks very intimidating. So overall, I think that he's a really good figure. I'm very happy about it. I think they did a really nice job on all the sculpt. I think they went the extra mile with including these extra heads. So that's very cool that they did that. I do wish that it included extra hands. I know that kind of sounds greedy, but when he's holding the sword in one hand, the opposite hand just kind of looks awkward because it's just open like that. So it would have been cool if he came with just some, like a fist or like an open spread out hand or like a dramatic hand. That would have been awesome. It would have taken this figure to another level. But as it is, he's a really fun figure to have. Like I said before, I definitely enjoyed messing with him more once I glued the cape on. So, you know, that's up to you whether you know, if you want to do that or not. For me, it worked out. So yeah, it's very cool that Hasbro's going back and fixing some figures that they've messed up in the past, and hopefully they continue to do that. You know, I would love to see them redo Hercules. There's a couple other ones out there. I can't remember right off the top of the head which ones they need to redo, but Hercules is definitely one of them. And speaking of old classic Avengers, I really wish that they do like a whole wave of these old obscure classic Avengers that weren't like you know, on the team for very long, but you know, that had an impact and that have a big following. Like I'd love, you know, like Swordsman or Star Fox, Dr. Druid, all those kind of guys, Jack of Hearts, all those characters would be awesome. How cool would it be to get all of them in one wave? That'd be super dope. And Black Knight would fit right in with them. So it's very cool that we got Black Knight, because you could kind of fill out your Avengers roster a little bit, or you could fill out your Excalibur roster along with Captain Britain and all them. So yeah, I'm very happy to have this guy. And I don't know too much about Black Knight specifically. I just know him from some of the Avengers appearances and things like that. So if there's any books out there that you think I should check out that would educate me on Black Knight, please let me know, leave a comment, all that good stuff. But I think that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and thank you very much. Peace.